Now let's look at the joy that is XPath. Now XPath is much maligned because it's slower than CSS in terms of the browser implementation sometimes. I suspect the situation is changing, but XPath is generally slower. XPath has additional functions that CSS does not, so it may be more flexible. XPath can navigate up and down the DOM, so you can get to a certain point and then traverse back up to the parents. And XPath is often more verbose because it's an XML based language. Because I started with XPath, I find it more natural, but here's the advice. The advice is get in the habit of using CSS. Use CSS selectors for most of the things that you do. Then if you encounter anything complicated, start using XPath. Because if you're doing it complicated, chances are you're not doing it all the time. So if it slows down a little bit in your test for that really necessary part that you have to use it, then it's worthwhile. So the references I tend to use, I don't tend to use a lot of references for XPath. I tend to use the W3 Schools link. Now the thing to be wary of here is that this is describing XPath 2. The browsers tend to implement XPath 1, which has a subset of this functionality. If you want to see XPath 1, head off to the language spec and it will have the different functions that are available to you. Because XPath has the ability to use functions. XPath also can check the content of the field. So CSS, you can't do any queries on the actual paragraph text, but you can do that with XPath. So I must remember to show you that. So those are my main references, the W3 Schools XPath tutorial and reference, and the XPath spec for XPath version 1. In your Selenium tests, you use it with the by XPath method. So it's much the same. Again, it's just a by method. It's just a method on the by class. So instead of by CSS selector, it's by XPath. XPath typically starts with // or it can start with /. That's the navigation. So let me just show you the XPath basics, then I'll show you these tests, then I'll show you it in Firebug. So with XPath, // means start matching this anywhere. XPath is essentially like a directory structure. So if I do /, I'm starting from the root of the document. So typically I'll have to do /HTML, /body, whatever else. If I do // I can match anywhere, so I can start doing // div. I'll show you this in a second. Like CSS, asterisk basically says match any element. Or I can do // then the tag name to match a particular named element. To do the attribute matching that we did in CSS, I use the square brackets again, and I prefix it with @ and then the attribute name. So @ for attribute. If I want to match on class, it's @class. And I can do the normal equals to match the attribute value. Now I can match the content in XPath with the dot notation. So I can say dot equals a particular value. I can traverse up and down the path. So in this example here, I'm doing //div/p/a to get me to an anchor. Then I'm doing dot, which will take me up to the parent, which will actually select the paragraph. I have all the different operators you'd expect. So let's have a quick look. So I've got equals, and, or, not, because XPath is a programming language. So we can do sums, multiplication, whatever else we want in there. It's enormously flexible. In some ways it's overly flexible. So having started learning it, I can use it for everything, but it's slower. So we need to learn both XPath and CSS. Plus CSS is cooler, and you're in with the cool kids, the front enders, when you start doing CSS selectors. And XPath has a bunch of functions for comparison. Let's have a quick look. So I can do comparison, I can check the start of strings. Now remember, XPath 1, not XPath 2, so you'd have to look in the spec to see what functions are available to you. So let's have a quick look through these tests I have created. So basically, This test, a certain number of paragraphs, is saying I want to find all the elements by the XPath /p. So it's basically saying find me p tag anywhere in the document. This is saying find a specific paragraph. So /p with an attribute name pname5. This is doing a path navigation. So this is basically saying find me a div, then anywhere underneath that div find me an anchor with this particular name. So let's do a quick run through of some of this in Firebug. We saw in CSS select land we can do things like div p, which will basically say given a div anywhere find a paragraph. In XPath we do it like this, we say anywhere in the document find a p, then anywhere underneath that find a, so anywhere in the document find a div, then anywhere underneath that find a paragraph. There we go. I can make it an absolute, so I'm saying I look for a div anywhere in the document where immediately underneath that is a paragraph. Then immediately underneath that is an anchor. Great. Then what's good about XPath is I can say actually I want the parent. So it jumps back up. So I've gone all the way down, I've matched the particular thing at the bottom, then I've got the parent. So let's have a quick look here in terms of content matching. So here I've got div p. There's a whole bunch of paragraphs and they have slightly different text. So I'm going to say give me it where it contains, and I want to check the body of the paragraph, and contains b paragraph. So it's found one. So what I've done there is I've used one of the XPath functions called contains, and I'm matching the text of the paragraph, that this is b paragraph text here. Now I don't have to use the content of the paragraph when I'm matching. I could use an attribute. So I could say that paragraph has got a class. So let's say where the class contains norm. There we go, and that's matched all the paragraphs with class normal. So you can see there I'm using attribute inside a function. I can do this at this level. I can say give me a paragraph where the at class equals normal. Let's get rid of that bracket. There you go. So that's much the same as CSS selectors, but we can traverse through the path. We have functions. CSS selectors have pseudo classes. Learn them, learn the scope of what's available, then start using them. And the more you use them, the more you'll become familiar with either CSS selectors or XPath.